This conference will now be recorded.
All right, do you happen to have the agenda materials up in front of you, Connie?
I have the agenda. What I do not have is the latest. I have the agenda materials that I printed that you sent with the email. For some reason, all I can find in terms of mailings was the previous mailing. So I am very sorry to say, I noticed that um, it looked like there was a lot attached to what I just mailed. I just printed out like the first 3 pages, which
Okay.
includes the agenda. Um,
Okay.
I don't know how difficult it would be for me to, it looked like the rest of the stuff was attached. I don't know if I have tried to toggle between um, my email and the GoToMeeting before. I'm not as familiar with GoToMeeting. If you're understanding, I mean, meaning I'm sure I have access to all the rest of the materials came with the agenda, correct?
Yeah, so I'm just gonna pull it up on the screen here. You can see my
Okay.
screen, right? Okay, yeah, yeah. So
I
that's
can. Yeah.
fine. We can just, I was just thinking we can walk through it. We
Yeah.
can look at so we had Leanne and Pam at the last meeting, so we can look at what they discussed. And
Right. Right.
yeah,
And I did
we're
I
here to
printed
just
out
sort
those.
of get you caught up today, okay? So we'll
Too.
make that
Thank
a
you.
priority.
I appreciate that. I know that your time is valuable and I appreciate it.
Oh, no worries. Okay, so here we go. If you're ready to call the meeting to order, we can get started.
Okay. Sure. So I'm calling the meeting to order. Uh, I guess I must have this on full screen. So, can somebody give me a time? Like,
10:13.
10:13. Like I say again, I'm not as familiar. I think this is the only group I do GoToMeeting with, so I'm just not as familiar with some of the mechanics. Okay, so the meeting's called to order at 10:13. And so I think in my email, Victoria, I had indicated that just not being used to running these meetings, I probably if just please give me a few promptings as we go through the agenda. I mean, I've got it in front of me,
Sure.
but
Yeah, so next is
I'm not quite sure
introductions.
what to say for each piece. Yeah. Okay, so introductions are each of us are just introducing ourselves, correct?
Right.
Okay. So Connie Moore, chairman.
Julia Decker, planning manager.
Victoria Sage, Clatsop County Planner.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I see on the next thing on the agenda is officer elections. And so I I'm not sure with just Pam and I at this point, how would we go about this?
Well, I think now would be a good time to indicate whether you would like to remain as the chairperson, or maybe in the future we can have another discussion with Pam. I'll put out there that Gail has taken the current attendance sheet to the county commission, and so we're figuring out if we can open up the applications for more members soon. So hopefully we can get some more members, and then we could just revisit elections then, I suppose, too. But I was hoping Pam was going to
Yeah.
be here today, so you two could at least decide if, you know, she wanted to be the chairperson or if you wanted to continue that. So we can move on,
Right.
but if you have any input on that, now's a good time.
Well, I think, you know, in view of my future plans, you know, I, at least, you know, at this point, I'm happy to, if it's helpful to you two, or to the, you know, to the planning department, for me to continue at least temporarily, I'm, you know, until we get some more members, I'm certainly happy to do that, so that we don't, you know, so that we're not trying to, you know, have elections multiple times or something. You know, like I say, I'm planning to have my schedule open up and be able to catch up a bit in the next couple of months. But yeah, that's why I was hoping Pam would be here, because if, you know, if she's a little bit more up on things and would be willing to do the chairman, then that would be fine for me. You know, I want what's best for the project and the committee.
Okay, thanks for that, Connie. So let's just go ahead and move up the agenda, the established regular meeting date and time. So I think that you had said that Thursdays were better for you, or someone had, I can't remember who, but Pam told me just now, she confirmed that any time on the third Thursday of the month is good for her. So if it works better for your schedule, we can move for September to a Thursday, and just like any time I think would be fine.
Okay, anytime would be fine, huh? Well, what would work for me is, you know, I'm not sure what my work schedule would be moving forward, but I'm given my plan, I I'm not right now, even if I go very much part-time to my job, it is a swing shift job. So, you know, 11 o'clock, for example, would be much better for me than 10. I don't know how that fits with your schedules, but, you know, 11 or noon would be better for me than 10. But Thursday is good. Probably, you know, with my current work schedule, definitely better for me.
I'm just double checking the planning calendar, but we can even do an afternoon. So I mean, like the Northeast CAC, they don't meet until 4 p.m. because that just works better with everyone's schedule. So really, it's kind of up to you guys. If you are working late and you need the morning to just kind of, you know, have a day, that's fine. We can.
Right, right. Well then, just in case, you know, since I don't really know what my final work schedule is, but I have a, you know, kind of an idea moving forward what I plan to do with it. I think a good compromise for me would be noon. The only thing that would, when you were talking about a later in the afternoon, do you think that would make it better um, uh, for the public to join? In your various meetings as you see them, uh, um, is there better attendance at one particular time than another?
Yeah, so I actually take that back. I didn't realize the countywide advisory is at 2, and we can't actually have 2 meetings at the same time. So I'd say either, just in case we have a long meeting for some reason, maybe 5 p.m. or 11 or 11:30 at the latest, but yeah, we can't run. So if we had an 11 or a noon meeting, that would be okay, but we would just have to make sure that we were done by like 10 minutes to 2 every time.
Oh,
So yeah,
okay, right,
that's
right.
just
And that
something to
may or
think
may
about.
not, that would kind of crunch everybody's schedule,
But
it
we could
seems
do a
to
5
me.
o'clock, and like you had mentioned, it's possible that some people are more likely to attend after work because,
Right,
people
right,
often work a 9 to 5. But
right,
I'll let you
right.
make that call.
Yeah, yeah, let's do 5. I used to be a morning person, but actually working swing shift has been better for me because for some reason I'm just not a morning person anymore.
Julie, do you have any input on that? Does that seem like an okay compromise?
Okay, so tell me again which day we're on. I'm in the process of responding to somebody else here. I'm doing 2 things at once. Tell me what day we're looking at.
Oh,
No worries. We're talking about doing the third Thursday at 5 p.m. For this meeting to not conflict with the countywide at 2. So it would be the 17th of September.
Okay, because I think that my LCAL, my Lewis and Clark Only Walluski group is the 4th Thursday.
Okay,
So,
yeah, they are, and they're at 6.
so yeah, as long as we're not trying to run 2 meetings at once.
Right. Yeah, that's why I put it 3 hours after the countywide.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see an issue.
Okay, great. So,
Unless we get other people on the committee who look at it and go, "Oh, that doesn't work for me."
well,
Then we
then we
might have
can
to
revisit
reconnoiter.
it.
That's right.
We can do this again.
yeah,
That's right.
Okay, great.
right. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to talk over somebody. That was the other thing is that, I'll if for some reason, say the 11 would work better for Pam than the 5, then that's, 11 would still be okay for me. But I was
Okay,
just
well,
thinking of, trying to get more public involved.
yeah, I'm gonna put it for 5 p.m. the 17th of September. That's the third Thursday. 1, 2, 3. And then if we need to change it, we will after that one. But this one will be at 5 p.m. on the 17th of September.
Right, right.
Okay, make it so.
Yeah, I did have a couple of other questions kind of back to the officer topic, if that's okay. Or I mean, I just maybe a couple of questions, a couple of comments.
Sure.
Okay. So here's the deal. I I tend to be kind of an idea person, and I tend to be a person that likes to look at the big picture and contemplate a lot of different issues. But I do wear my heart on my sleeve, and so my though moving forward, I plan to have a more open schedule for doing this sort of thing. having attended several meetings now in the past, not saying that the meetings were, got to be necessarily super difficult or anything like that. It's just that, sometimes we get a wide variety of people and personalities and that kind of thing. And Ron was, did a pretty darn good job of just kind of keeping everything moving forward in a steady manner. And it seemed to me that, the flow was always as I thought it should be. I don't know how much of that was because of him and how much of that was just just the luck of the draw in terms of people attending the meeting and being, everybody contributing in a constructive manner. That's part of my concern is just, my personality tends to be a little bit on the soft side, and so that's one of my concerns for being a chair long term.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Connie. So that's not a problem. And if you would like to step down, we can talk to Pam at the next meeting about her being the chair. Or if you want to give it a shot and continue, that's fine. That's great. But we'll talk
Right.
about it at the next meeting, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that, because I'm, I think she's done, I can tell from the minutes and from past meetings, she provides a lot of other good contributions to this project. And so if at least for now, until we get some additional members, if if it's better for her that I continue as chair, that I could do that.
Well, that's appreciated. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so we jumped down to the establishing the meeting date and time. So at this point, what would you like to go with next?
Let's just go back up and review the last meeting minutes, the meeting summary,
Okay.
so that we can just kind of
Sure.
see what we've covered already, maybe.
Right. And I did kind of skim over it briefly. And so so I think what I need, for me, I'm not sure what, let's see if I can, I mean, I had a couple of questions when I was, and it had to do with adaptive. Again, like I say, I haven't done my homework here. So I wasn't sure what an adaptive management plan, because it sounds like that's what Pam was, and even Leanne seemed to be in favor of what was called an adaptive management plan, as opposed to, I'm assuming, what we're currently doing.
So my understanding is that it's sort of, how do I explain it? It's kind of like if you look at the result and then you have the ability to basically change or adapt how you're doing things.
Okay.
Very
Yeah.
much summarized, but
Right. I guess since and I was, so what kind of what are we doing currently? It's thought I saw another another, piece of terminology in here, but I'm having a hard time, like bumping into it as I try to reread this. So, what are we currently doing?
Okay, well, something that I told them last time and that I'll tell you is that right now, the county does not actually regulate wetlands. The Oregon Department of State Lands regulates wetlands. So we don't have a role in actual regulation of them. We do have, we pay attention to and advise people when we see wetlands on the National Wetlands Inventory and the statewide wetlands inventory. And those are layers that are on our GIS, which we've obtained from the state, so that we can advise people that they should be checking with the Oregon Department of State Lands, and that also we can look at it and know that we're looking at a development that potentially could affect wetlands. So we notify the Oregon Department of State Lands. And so hopefully between us and the applicant, the DSL has the opportunity to review the applications, and very frequently, if something's going to impact wetlands, they will make a determination either that it is not enough of an impact that it's okay to proceed, like, you can fill up to 50 cubic yards in a year, for example, and they'll sign off on that. Or they may determine that they need a wetland delineation, where the applicant hires a consultant to come in and actually on the ground research, do hand augering and dig test pits and whatever, and actually refine what the wetland mapping is at the time. So that's actually the state's job. That's not ours. Ours is simply to make sure that if we have permits coming into us, applications for permits, that we have obtained all of the appropriate sign-offs and approvals prior to the Oregon Department of State Lands, or from the Oregon Department of State Lands, prior to us issuing any permits. So that's part of what we do. The other thing is, besides this wetlands layer on the GIS mapping, we also have zoning. The county actually has lake and wetlands zoning, which is not the same thing as the National Wetlands Inventory. The zoning is actually more in the Clatsop Plains area. You're not going to see it out in the Elsie-Jewell area, but it is up in the Clatsop Plains area, and that's based on some studies from 1970s, I think 74 or so, by Duncan Thomas. And we do regulate that, but we regulate it as an actual zoning layer, and it's got setbacks to it and things like that. So the wetlands layers, that's one thing. And so that's a Goal 5 issue, the wetlands layers, but the lake and wetland zone is something different, and it's actually a regulation of a zone. So anyway, it's a little bit complex. We've also got riparian areas and things like that. So when you ask, what do we do? Well, in some instances we do a lot, because we do regulate the lake and wetland zone, but we also defer to the Oregon Department of State Lands for wetlands at this time. Now, there are some folks within the county who would like to see Clatsop County regulate the wetlands, in addition to DSL's regulation. And so that's a question that you'll see come up actually periodically, and is coming up in some of the other committees right at this moment. And so there you go. That was kind of a long
But is that
dissertation, but anyway.
no. But I mean, if the state is currently the primary regulator, is there really anything we can do about that? I mean, isn't this project just pretty much within our own purview of what, of what we have control over?
Yeah, so like Julie had mentioned, we also have zones. So for instance, we have the lake and wetland zone that's mainly in the Clatsop Plains area, but that is something that was based on a wetland inventory back in, I forget, when was the lake and wetland zone done? 1980. So in the lake and wetland zone, for instance, we have a very limited list of, let me see if I can pull that up without closing out of everything.
So is that something where we could increase the number of zones? Is that something we have, and that would give us more uh, uh, more capabilities? You know, when we create a wetland zone, does that give us more capabilities for managing that area?
Well, I think actually you wouldn't necessarily be wanting to create a new zone or to increase the zoning. You probably might be more looking at whether or not the county should be considering regulating lakes and wetlands or wetland areas using the tools that are already available, the National Wetlands Inventory and the statewide wetlands inventory. And you might consider whether or not it's a good idea for the county to become involved in also doing this regulation. But what you might want to do is actually look at the goals that we currently have and see if they make sense, if they should be augmented, if they don't make sense, if they should be eliminated. And so you could actually take a look at that natural resource sheet that we have right now and sort of, work through that a little bit.
Okay,
If
yeah,
you could see what
I've
we're actually doing.
right. That's like I say, that's something I haven't had a chance to do. And so I was just putting out some, generic questions. So so maybe I should ask it this way. So in one of the last paragraphs, it says that Pam stated that an aspirational goal she'd like to see would be for communities to work together to protect their own wetlands. Now, I think where I'm a little bit confused when you talked about, the state um, uh, having, it sounds like primary control of the wetlands. I just didn't know if in our planning process we can augment uh, our position or uh, our our participation in managing them. Can we increase that? I mean, is that something we can actually do as part of this process?
Well, we might look at if the community at large feels like they want to have more of a say they want to increase setbacks or something like that to wetlands, that might be a recommendation. If you look at policy 1 under the wetlands policy, the first one is the county will protect identified significant freshwater wetlands for which no conflicting uses have been identified from incompatible uses. And so one of the committees looked at that and said, well, you might want to delete the highlighted language, which was for which no conflicting uses have been identified from compatible uses. Basically, just stop with a period after wetlands and just say the county will protect identified significant freshwater wetlands. That was a policy. And so anyway, that was something that another committee looked at and said, well, that is something that we want to do. It's aspirational and we may not have a lot of teeth in it, but it's aspirational. Do we think that this is a goal or a policy that is worthy of consideration? And so that's something that we're asking is that still a policy that people want to pursue?
Right, right. Well, it sounds good to me. Like I say, I uh, don't hesitate to let me know if I'm, obviously, and I may be like asking some questions, that I have very little background on, or, but I was uh, just, I think, attempting to, since I wasn't at the meeting, I was just attempting to figure out. I mean, there's all kinds of things I wish for, but like it's if don't get me started on the whole forestry stuff. But obviously at this point, we have certain things in place that we may, some things we may have to live with, at least short term. and set up plans and policies and things within that. So I was just trying to determine that, just kind of generally that piece.
Okay, sure.
So let's see. So I think if I'm understanding your answer, or without, again, belaboring something I haven't done my homework on, it is, so it is possible to expand our work or our participation in like the wetlands regulation, even though the state has a large amount of the responsibility, we could still increase our participation, is what you're saying.
Well, it's certainly something that the committee or the committees as a group might recommend to the Board of Commissioners, because any kind of change like that is going to be something that's going to need to be adopted through the comp plan and then roll through into our land and water development and use ordinance. So, but if that's something that people feel strongly about and they want to see recommend, then they can do that. I mean, we can't just unilaterally go, oh yes, let's change this. But the committees can make a recommendation that this is something that they think the county should pursue, and then the board would make the decision.
Right. Oh, okay. Yeah. Because I think that I do agree with that idea of just when you talked about stopping the verbiage, so that we're not necessarily leaving a loophole for other interests, meaning commercial interests or industrial interests that might compromise an important wetland. I certainly agree with that sort of thing.
Well, this is I was just wondering. Oh, we have someone who's joined us.
Oh,
hello, my name's Alicia.
Hello, Alicia. Would you, Victoria, would this be a good time to, oh, I get to see Alicia too. Hi there. Can you see me? Alicia, I'm Connie Moore. Can you see me as well?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. So Victoria, I was going to pause for a minute and have Alicia introduce herself.
Hi, so my name's Alicia. I live on Lower Nehalem, and I was just looking through the marketplace ads, and I saw that this was happening, and I was like, oh, this sounds like a great opportunity to learn more about what's going on.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thanks for coming, Alicia.
Yeah. And
so maybe we should introduce ourselves to Alicia very quickly.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm Connie Moore, and I'm currently the chair for this committee. It's we're kind of in a transition period on some of that. There was a previous chair, and I'm running it at this point in time. So and I live up Hamlet Road, which is as you get off of 26 onto 53, it's Hamlet Road's the first main county road that you would turn on to.
Hi, I'm Victoria. I'm the planner at Clatsop County Community Development.
And I'm Julia Decker. I'm the Community Development Planning Manager. And so we're, as Connie said, kind of in this transitional stage with people kind of coming on and going off of the committee right at the moment, and working through Goal 5 today, just looking at some materials that have to do with wetlands.
Thank you, and nice to meet everyone.
And Victoria, I don't know if it's, or Julia, if it was appropriate for me to say that, but our committee is very small at this point in time, and I'm not sure, what the process is, but we, I know that we could utilize we could certainly use some more people participating in the committee. And so I'm just going to open up that topic for a moment since you're here. Thank you, Alicia. And Victoria or Julia, I don't know if that was appropriate for me to bring that up, but I just, I'm excited that Alicia's has joined us, and I just thought I would open up that topic briefly.
Yeah, I think that's fine. She might want to see what this is about first, but we are in the process of, getting the go-ahead from the board to open up applications for being on this committee. So, and goal 5. So I don't know if you are familiar with the comprehensive plan process. So our document is about 40 years old, and it's like the aspirational document that all of our, well, not all of them, but our zoning and our other regulatory, like the standards are based on. So right now we're going through and checking to see if all the goals and policies if we find them to still be relevant, and to see what needs to be addressed. So we've already gone through goals 1 through 4, and now we're on goal 5. I'll just pull up. No, it's not zooming. Okay, well, sorry about that. So anyway, right now we're going through the natural resources, scenic and historic areas, and open spaces. It's a huge goal. A ton of it is based on the quarry and mining resources. And so right now we are addressing the wetlands and watersheds. We're trying to take it in smaller bites because it is intimidating. And this process is going to take a couple months. The entire process will probably take 3 years.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so so back to so at this point, Alicia, on the agenda, we were basically focusing on the basically the review of goal 5 topics and worksheets. I wasn't able to attend the last meeting, and so that's the other thing. I was just being brought up to date. So I guess what I'm wondering is what other, it is a big topic. What other kinds of things do you think we should go over today?
Well, we can take a look at some of the background materials. The group last time had requested, and basically all the other groups have requested an inventory of the current class of county goal 5 resources. So our planner Ian went through the document and pulled out all the different current inventories and made this, which is just a thing of beauty. So as you can see, these are the mineral and aggregate, and then some are
Right.
sort of super specific, and some are, just kind of vague.
Right.
Like
Right.
parks. Alicia, are you able to pull the agenda up on the website so you can see that on your computer too? Or if you feel like scanning around, but it is on the Clatsop County planning page under community development. Then you go over to the comprehensive plan update in planning and the where the Elsie-Jewell Seaside Rural Committee.
It looks like that there is one from June 16th, but I don't see one for August.
There's no agenda up for August?
Not that I
Oh
see.
no. Okay, well, sorry about that.
Okay, I will go back.
I
Actually, oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. I thought Alicia, I thought I saw what I was looking at because I was checking out the different links prior to this meeting. It seemed like there was a particular page on the county website that has like a whole huge chunk of links. And I thought I saw it on there, but I was given in my email a specific link to go to see all of that. So it may be that it just may be on a page that you haven't bumped into yet. Yeah, there it is.
So,
That's the one I was looking at.
and it's this one. There are a couple of different places to get lost in. So under comprehensive plan update, it's this. Just press this button.
Yeah, see, there's just a ton of links there that, so you can kind of get lost in them.
Anyway, sorry to get sidetracked. I just want to make sure because it's,
I went through the calendar.
My computer screen, but there we go.
Yeah, I found it now. I went through the calendar link and then it took me to a different page.
Yeah, there's a ton of places to go wrong. So, all right.
Yeah, and see, I was able to cheat because they gave me the special link. So, Alicia, so that's the only reason I bumped into it quickly. So, Victoria, because it certainly is for my benefit too, if you just want to continue to, do some more review, for Alicia's benefit, obviously it's going to benefit me too. I'll let you determine how much it makes sense, since there is so much, how much of it you want to, and how detailed you want to get on this particular review. And I'm
Sure. So, as you can see, we have these wetlands and watersheds. These are the current listed resources. The only ones in our planning area in the current state of the comprehensive plan are these ones here: Canyon Creek, Nicanicum River, Nehalem River, and Elk Creek. Oh, excuse me, and the Arch Cape Creek, Ashbury, Shark Fall, Red Rock Creek. And I do know that the Nehalem River was just named a, oh gosh, scenic significant river. I can't remember
oh, good.
what the new designation is. The Lower Nehalem, excuse me, specifically. So, but what other groups have been doing is going through and seeing if, these are still relevant and if we need to add anything. Some feedback that I got from the Northeast Committee is to figure out an inventory of riparian corridors and see if we need to add that because they're not addressed specifically. It's just sort of addressed as, wetlands and watersheds, but an actual riparian corridor resource designation. So that's something that we'll be working on. Here we go, wild and scenic waterways. That's what I
Okay.
meant.
So who talking about like for example, you said something about the Lower Nehalem being designated as scenic. Where does the Lower Nehalem that designation start? On because the Nehalem's a huge long river. Where does the Lower Nehalem start at?
Pardon me while I Google Lower Nehalem Watershed Council. But I believe that designation itself is through the parks. I think it's a federal designation.
Right, right. Yeah, but I mean, so that designation would indicate where it starts, or I mean, what the specific area is. Is that what you're indicating? Okay, so yeah, see it, because it's a huge river.
It looks like it starts at Spruce Run Park and then goes all the way down past Nehalem Falls to Cook Creek Road or Cougar Valley
Okay,
State Park.
okay. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because of course there's the Nehalem through the Nehalem Valley, and I mean, it's, you know, it's just a big, huge river, quite significant for the Coast Range in our area. So do rivers like the Nehalem, do they get tested for water quality on a regular basis?
I honestly don't know.
Yeah, I don't
Probably.
know. I mean, that would be something that would be done by independent organizations for different purposes, I would assume. Like maybe the DEQ would go test if there is some sort of industrial activity happening upstream. I would imagine like ODFW does a lot of temperature and turbidity testing and whatnot. And then just maybe various you know, nonprofit organizations probably do testing for different, different particulates and whatnot. So
Okay,
I don't
so
know.
that is,
Yeah, that's
it isn't something that would be part of a wetlands management plan then.
I think we could create an aspirational goal that Clatsop County would like to encourage state and federal organizations to do regular testing of maybe these indexed resources and to keep, to make that information available. And they may already do that. I don't know. I haven't looked into it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I
it
know
may already
that's
be
something
something
that
that
would,
exists.
right, that's the thing. That's why I'm just kind of putting out the question. I think that there's, I just think that sometimes we don't even realize where drainage goes, and and what ends up in the river. And the Nehalem River is, I mean, that's the one that just kind of triggered me. I'm not saying that it wouldn't be true for all of our important wetlands, but it's such a significant river that goes through, a huge portion of the, northern coast range. And it I think it's important to, and it's a fish bearing stream, and it's just a huge resource in the county. And I think it's important to know that that it has a certain level of quality. You know, when I say at all times, I don't mean every day, but on just on some kind of periodic basis.
I would guess that the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, because I know that they do testing in various waterways throughout the state. Probably
Ah,
keeps an eye on the suspended particulates and sedimentation and pollutants and all that sort of thing. I know that on another waterway, I had concerns about something, Phil, that had been placed in the floodway, and I checked in with the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, and they actually had a team in the area doing sampling, so I know that they do it on the fish-bearing rivers.
oh, okay, okay. I think I just wanted to, I think, just make sure that was happening in some form. So if I
Yeah.
interrupted your flow, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, not at all. So if you look at the background material, I know that you didn't have time to, but this is kind of what we're currently doing and what we're going to be looking at. So we have the opportunity to inventory and assess new resources and make sure that they are protected, and maybe identify some land uses that are negatively impacting waterways. And then a lot of the stuff is, addressed through working with the state and federal agencies just by notifying them. And then we also address them directly through our zoning requirements. And these are the ways that we do it: the development density, intensity of uses, so whether or not it needs a development permit or up to like a type 2, 3A. It'll go to different levels of decision makers. It'll go up to planning commission or the county commission or hearings officer, and they'll decide, when the intensity increases. Buffers, setbacks, and then the standards document addresses fire protection, road and culvert design, stormwater, erosion control plans, water treatment systems, sanitary disposal requirements. So those are kind of those really tangible ways that we ensure water quality as best as we can. And I know we're not to
Right,
the zoning document yet, but that's just kind
right.
of, the nuts and bolts of it.
I think without doing my homework, I kind of had a sense that, that we were, you know, approaching it in this manner. And I think the reason I brought up the testing, the water quality testing, is just another way to ensure that, the tools we are using and zoning and setbacks and all that, we're actually working in a particular area. So that, I think that's why I asked about the water quality.
Yeah, maybe it's possible after we identify uses that could be contributing negatively to waterways. After we do that inventory, maybe then we could try to work with state and federal agencies to do water quality testing specifically in those areas. We could write that in as a goal or policy if you'd like.
Yeah, I know I would be interested in, and I don't know if that's the only way of monitoring, but I would like to see some, obviously we have the zoning and certain uh, management tools for, protecting the wetlands, to the best of our known abilities. But then I think having an additional set of tests to see if what we've put in place is really working, and because there's so many different there's many subtle differences to each wetland, and that some general uh, zoning or policies might not, they might not work as well as we thought they would, or something like that.
Okay, so do you want to maybe give a stab at creating a policy with that in mind?
Yeah, I'd like to, I definitely would like to include, um, uh, I mean, I know there's groups out there that are doing testing, but I'd like it to be more, whoever, I mean, I don't know that I would know exactly who should do the testing, but I think I'd rather have it be formalized to the point that, we're actually that the testing's being, done, agreed upon and done on some regular basis.
Okay, and is there a specific place would you like testing done in all waterways, in all wetlands, or are there specific, what would be the method for deciding where testing is done?
I don't know that I have the uh place and method. I don't know that I can answer that right now. Um I I do happen to know, and maybe that's, I happen to know a person that has been quite involved with the wetlands in some regard, and maybe I don't know whether he has been, maybe he's been to the county-wide meetings. I haven't had a chance to catch up with him, and and maybe he would be, it would be nice to have him as a guest for one of our meetings.
The more the merrier.
Because he might be able to answer that question better than I could.
Okay. Would it be fair to say you would like to see standardized testing in identified water resources in Clatsop County, like the resources that were
Yeah,
identified in Goal 5? Would it be fair to say that those could be considered significant sites for testing?
yeah,
Does that,
yeah. That's
okay,
that perfect. That sounds good. That covers
okay,
it.
all right. Alicia, do you have any thoughts or input on that subject? Don't want to put you on the spot. Okay.
No, no thoughts right now.
And Connie, there's also a list of agencies that we do that do work in our area here, and they would be good people to get input
Yeah,
from.
and I think that the person I'm thinking of is working in one of those. As I see the list, I'm just not good at remembering names, so I just can't remember where, uh, he's actively involved, but I'm not sure which watershed group he's with.
Yeah, and here's a list of different agencies. You can go to their website and look around and probably get some good feedback
Okay,
on that.
sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
And the state ones in particular too. The Oregon's 100-year water vision is really helpful.
Okay.
And then just some tips for landowners. And
Right.
we can start to take a look at wetlands. This is a document Ian put together. And mostly, this is the current section of that goal 5. So, all right, where would you like to head now? Here are the current sites that have been inventoried for wetlands. And then we can also just go and take a look at this language in goal 5, if I can get this document to behave.
Okay.
Please stand by.
Sure.
All right. So just to catch Alicia up to speed, this is the worksheet we've been using throughout this process. We've broken out the different goals and policies in that ancient document that you saw for a moment there. And then we're basically looking to see if the goal has been met and if she would keep it and what changes we would make. So we can go down and take a look at this, Connie. If you're feeling like you're not quite ready to dive into this, we can save this for next month's meeting. It is totally up to you.
Well, it's, I want to make sure that, at this moment, what, pops into my head is, making sure that, Alicia feels like she has a, an adequate, kind of introduction to, what we're doing here. But, I'm, like I say, I'm hoping that, that I'm, well, not more even of hoping, but I'm expecting my schedule to open up, by, at least a week, probably at least 10 days in advance of the next meeting. So I'm hoping that'll give me a chance to catch up on a few things.
Okay, yeah,
And
I know
not
you haven't
wanting
had
to,
time to review this month, and since we are
yeah.
down our regular members, we can do this however you're comfortable.
Well, it's Alicia, what more would you like to hear about and see? Do you want some additional review on
I think that
this other part?
Well, so I think that I get the overall idea of what you guys are doing, which is awesome. And I would like to participate, but I think that like reviewing some of the documentation and kind of seeing like some of your guys' notes and what the group is kind of aiming towards would be useful. But like I can read outside of this meeting and just kind of catch up on what you guys are doing.
Yeah, Alicia,
So,
and if you want,
go ahead.
sorry, if you want to give
Sorry.
me your contact information, I can add you to our mailing list so
Sure.
you can get the notifications every month. I can, if you don't want to give your email address out, you can email me. I'll give you mine, however is comfortable.
I'll put it in the chat box because it's wonky.
Okay, that sounds perfect.
And I don't mind if people have it. It's fine.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
And so would she have access to, like for example, when I started to print out the agenda, all of a sudden I realized 88 pages. So would she is that part of the link that's on the county website there, all the other background information?
Yeah, and we haven't been mailing out the full agendas to well, to the public. So if you want to stop by the office though, I do have some giant binders, but yeah, we would just email out a copy of the agenda that you got on the 11th, Connie. It'd be the same.
That sounds good to me.
Well, like I say, when I went to open it up, I thought, okay, I'm going to print this real fast. I was getting ready for the meeting, and then all of a sudden it said one of 88. So
and honestly, a lot of it is redundant. A lot of that is like the old goal that we just need to have there for reference. But yeah, some of it's redundant.
Well, but that might be handy but that's something Alicia could access, is what I was thinking.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, I have it pulled up already.
Okay.
And the agenda I mail out is the same one that we upload to this date on the website. So she should have access to everything. And if she has any specific questions, she can always reach out. So.
And then since I'm like the public right now, is there anything specific that you guys like are hoping from me? Just input in general?
Yeah, we really are a community, or excuse me, citizen involvement was goal 1. And we did that at the beginning, obviously, but the more input we have, the better this process works. The more concerns that get addressed, the more information we have, really. So.
Yeah, we've had, oh, go ahead, Victoria.
I was going to say, we're really hoping to reach as broad a number and the diversity of the community as possible. So we're trying to reach across as well as we can. And it's proving a little bit challenging in the rural areas because it's just hard to get a hold of people. So a lot of the time we're depending on word of mouth and just people hearing about it. So we're delighted to have more people who we haven't met before come to these. So if you know anybody, invite them. But yeah, we are absolutely interested in as diverse cross-section of the community as possible from whom to receive input.
Yeah, it's been, when I think back, Alicia, on other people that have attended the meeting, I mean, we've had everybody from, some small timber operators to the owner of Camp 18 to, a farmer, a couple of different farmers, so there've been, a wide variety of people representing different interests and, backgrounds, and that's been good.
Does this meeting happen on like the, third Tuesday of every month consistently?
So it was, and we are actually going to be switching to the third Thursday at 5 p.m. of every month. So the next one will be September 17th at 5. And when I put you on the mailing list, you'll get the agenda with the date and all of that. So we'll notify you personally.
Is that in an effort to try and get more people to be able to fit it into their schedule?
Yeah, we were talking about work schedules and whatnot. So.
Got it. Okay. Cool.
Okay, any more public input? Alrighty.
No, and again, I think I appreciate your offer, both Victoria and Julia, to bring me up to date. I'm just, you know, if there's something that you think that you haven't gone over that you think, you know, in summary would just be useful for me, I'd be happy to hear it. But on the other hand, you know, digging into some of this myself, kind of like what Alicia was talking about, might make it easier for me to form questions and let you know what's not making sense.
Yeah, and we definitely tried to streamline the background materials we're giving to you. Like you'll notice where, you know, Ian and I just sent out little summaries. Julie had sent out just a nice concise summary for the quarries, which is really helpful because that is such a massive chunk. So, I mean, at this point, really, if you review the summaries and the background materials, like the short versions that we're sending out, and you know, that should be sufficient. You know, that's kind of like the bare minimum, but that's great. And then everyone's included, you know, links for further investigation, suggested links for further investigation to maybe, like, if you have a question that comes up while you're reading through, you can click through to the link and maybe come back with more information than staff has.
Okay, sure. Well, you know, unless, so, you know, and I'm not wanting to speak for Alicia, but, you know, unless there's some, again, I'm just going to kind of restate it, unless there's something else that you think might be helpful for both of us, then I'm certainly willing to, you know, call it good for now and wind this down.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've covered most of what we needed to cover for the, just go through and read the summaries, and I think
Yeah.
you'll be fine for next time.
Okay, good.
And I recommend reading the worksheet, taking a look at the actual worksheet, which has the goals and policies as they currently exist, and taking a look at those and thinking about what you see around you, things that, you know, areas that might not be covered, things that we should be adding, areas that we should be adding, but definitely take a look at what we have now and how that might be revised or improved, I think is actually going to be really helpful.
Okay, thank you. That's a nice, you know, kind of a nice, you know, structured directive, and I appreciate that, Julia. Thank you.
You are most welcome.
Okay, well, so there isn't anybody to really vote on this. So if we don't have anything else, then I guess I'm bringing up a suggestion to adjourn the meeting.
I don't think anyone's arguing with you.
Okay. So Alicia, just to catch you up a little bit, normally we would run this meeting, you know, with a little bit of parliamentary whatever, meaning, you know, we would vote to, we'd move in second and we would vote to, you know, like approve the minutes or close the meeting or whatever. And it's just right now, I'm the only regular member on that's was able to attend today. So that's why I kind of said it the way I did.
All right, sounds good. Thank you for including me and allowing me to join.
Yeah, thanks for showing up.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your interest.
Thank you to everyone. Take care.